Chapter 873. Xia had been watching from the sidelines for a very long time and thought Yi Wanwan saw things clearly for herself, but he hadn't expected she would still be persisting on the wrong path. Xia warned her sternly, "Let's not talk about Qin Ruoxi's henchman yet. You crippled one of Si Jie's legs, so Si Mingli wants your life for sure. You have to leave before tomorrow. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to leave even if you wanted to." Yi Wanwan glanced at the things on the table. These things took days to prepare, yet Xia actually delivered these things the moment something happened to Si Yihan. This meant he'd always been prepared for this. No one believed someone like her, who had no comprehension of medicine, could cure Si Yihan. Si Mingli and Feng Yiping held those beliefs, and so did Xia. "Thank you, nephew. I didn't think you'd be so filial." Yi Wanwan smiled, then the smile disappeared as she adopted an indifferent expression. "But there's no need for this." Xia immediately stood up. "Yi Wanwan, are you an idiot?" Yi Wanwan grinned. "Don't be mad. You don't look handsome when you're angry." Upon hearing this familiar tone, Xia went blank. Xia was so enraged by her indifference and her tone as she sounded like she was trying to coax a child. "Even if that man erased your existence, he'd want to imprison you and keep him by his side. Do you think he really loves you? Your stupidity will be the death of you someday." Yi Wanwan chuckled. I think I'll be smitten to death instead? Such naughty activities can lead to bitter consequences. But what did he mean by erasing my existence? You, Xia pounded the table. The two of them were caught in silence. The air was stagnant. Suddenly, Xia stood up and charged towards her as fast as lightning, attacking her. Although Yi Wanwan was distracted, her body responded instinctively and evaded his attack. If she got hit by him just now, she would have been knocked out. It didn't make any sense. Did he intend to knock her out and take her away by force? Before Yi Wanwan could react, Xia continued to attack. Soon, the two of them exchanged over 100 blows and Yi Wanwan was quite surprised. She didn't expect Xia to be so skilled. In the end, the two of them were panting. Xia fixed his collar. He stared darkly at her, then sneered, 100 moves. You can't even strike me after 100 moves, you're useless." Xia then forcefully shoved the things on the table into her hands and strode away. "You better think carefully." Yi Wanwan looked at the things in her hands and looked at Xia leaving in a huff. She was utterly confused. Xia was very skilled, and for her to be able to take 100 strikes from him, shouldn't she be considered quite powerful? Almost all of Si family's dark team guards were surprised after finding out about her skills, but Xia said she was useless? What's this kid's logic? Deep into the night, Yi Wanwan returned to Jin Garden. There wasn't a sound in the huge garden. It was completely dead. Yi Wanwan walked over to Si Yihan's room and prepared some clothes to change into. Then she took the things Xia prepared for her and sat on the balcony. Xia prepared everything she needed: a new identity, new address, and there would be someone to pick her up when she arrived. If she really left, it would be a new beginning. If this was before her rebirth, she definitely would have been overjoyed by this precious opportunity to gain her freedom. But right now, right here, she was no longer alone. She had more connections, family, friends, and finally, the lighter ignited and those items turned into a blaze in the night, disintegrating into ashes. Chapter 874. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night. At the little house of Rose, the 5-men mercenary group was huddled together, worrying. Si Han is dying from his illness. Our master is going to be upset. That might not be the case. Although master has feelings toward him, there are still millions of other beauties even if this beauty died, right? The main point is that if Si Han died, wouldn't we have to relocate? After all, the master is staying here because of him. Maybe. I really can't bear to leave this place. Look at the beautiful flowers I trimmed. It's been so long since I've been so comfortable. Jiao doesn't want to leave either. Qin residents, Qin Ruoxi's father, Qin Feng, rushed back from abroad that very night. "Father, how are things now?" There's no news at the moment, but judging from the current situation, things look bad. Before, Sun Baichao already predicted Si Han wouldn't last 6 months. Now, it's estimated that he's probably at the end of his life. The improvements in his health we saw earlier was probably the final radiance from the setting sun. Ichenji, that guy is too blind. If he chose to marry you, he would have a couple more years to live. Until things are confirmed, don't make a move yet. There are numerous people who will deal with that woman for you, Qin Feng said sternly. His father. Qin Ruoxi's eyes were ice cold. Since I can't get him, I'll just destroy him. The next day, Beijing Suburban Hospital, all the elders were waiting anxiously outside the ward for the results. Si Mingli scanned around then asked intentionally, "Where's that woman?" Feng Yiping mocked, "I don't know, I didn't see her at all since last night. Could it be that she dreaded the punishment and ditched town? We shouldn't have let her leave yesterday." The elders were fuming as they heard a pair of footsteps from the walkway. Compared to the fair Qin Ruoxi, Yuanwan was wearing a bright red dress and had delicate makeup on. She walked over slowly and wasn't panicking at all like they imagined, not to mention looking guilty or dreading punishment. Seeing how Yuanwan was acting, Feng Yiping showed a look of disgust. Life and death is uncertain for Master, yet she dared to show up wearing such a garish dress? Such indecency! Si Mingrong, who hadn't spoken yet, looked at Yuanwan with an ugly expression, and just as he was about to speak, Sun Baichao and a group of professionals came out of the ward. Si Mingrong, "Doctor, how's our master's condition?" Everyone hurriedly stepped forward. Si Mingli didn't even have time to worry about Yuanwan as he stared at Sun Baichao with anticipation on his face. "The patient is in a coma right now. His breathing is shallow and his condition isn't very optimistic. We're still investigating the cause, prepare for the worst, and prepare what needs to be done," one of the professionals reminded them euphemistically. This was almost akin to dealing out the death penalty and preparing for death. After hearing this, everyone exploded. Si Mingli roared immediately, "Guards, grab this woman. Lock her up, I want to interrogate her." Suddenly, 2 tall and ferocious guards walked towards Yuanwan. Looking at Si Mingli without the slightest trace of warmth on her face, Yuanwan said, "Si Mingli." Si Mingli raised his brows. "What's wrong? Does our future mistress of the household have something to say?" With a blank expression, Yuanwan replied, "The final outcome of Master's checkup isn't out, yet fourth uncle is already eagerly trying to incite rumors and take the law into your own hands, using the public to avenge personal grievances. If I'm proven to be innocent, I wonder what would happen to fourth uncle, huh?" Si Mingli was fearless. He instantly burst out in laughter. "Haha, you're innocent? At a time like this, you still dare to brag? Not unless she's able to get Si Han to rise from the dead and jump out of the bed now. She's actually thinking of getting off the hook? What a joke." Si Mingli sneered, "If you're innocent, I, Si Mingli, will bear all the consequences." Chapter 875. Yuanwan glanced at Si Mingrong and the group of elders. "Second uncle and all the elders present here, I hope all of you can bear witness to what fourth uncle just said." All the elders had a darkened expression and a look of disdain. They disapproved of Yuanwan's quibbling too. Si Mingrong looked at the mess the Si family was facing right now and felt regret. He shouldn't have allowed the master to do whatever he wanted. If they dealt with this woman earlier on, things wouldn't be in this state today. If they completed the organ transplant that time, the master would have had at least a few more years to live. After speaking, Si Mingli walked to Si Mingrong's side and said respectfully, "Second brother, sis isn't feeling well right now and you have to take care of the hospital matters. Just let me deal with such a small matter. I'll make sure to do a thorough check on this woman." Si Mingrong glanced at Si Mingli and didn't speak. This was equivalent to silent approval of Si Mingli's suggestion. Seeing as Si Mingrong didn't disagree, Su Changkuan stood up instantly. Although Miss Wanwan disagreed to the operation, she only did it for the sake of Master's health, and nobody expected things would turn out this way. How could we simply accuse Miss Wanwan of premeditated murder just like that? Furthermore, Master hasn't. Su Changkuan. Si Mingli sneered and interrupted him. How could you say something so despicable just because this woman saved your son Biorha? Su Changkuan, I'm merely stating the facts. The fact is that she charmed our master and plotted against his life, causing an uproar in the Si family. This woman has committed crimes against the Si family. How could you defend a criminal? Si Mingli. Yuanwan took a step forward and pulled back the enraged Su Changkuan. She glanced disapprovingly at Si Mingli, who was beaming, and said plainly, I can go to prison, but I hope by then, fourth uncle wouldn't beg me to come out. Haha, that's ridiculous. Si Mingli sneered coldly, Miss Yi, with these charges, you couldn't ever dream of getting out. Take her away. Yes. A couple well-trained and highly skilled bodyguards stepped forward and surrounded Yi Wanwan, taking her away. Seeing that this woman had finally landed in his hands, Si Mingli felt invigorated and all his worries were swept away. Bitch, it's really naive of you to think you can leave the Si family's prison alive. With Si Yihan's current condition, he could pass away any time, and all the elders were waiting in the ward. They didn't dare to leave at all. Si Mingli already volunteered to make funeral preparations in advance. Si family's prison, the moment Yi Wanwan stepped inside, a chill went up her spine. There was a bloody scent lingering in the air, mixed with something musty and the smell of rusty metals. It was extremely nauseating. Horrifying screams came from the depths of the passageway. Yi Wanwan had long heard of this place. The people locked up here were all traitors of the family clan and included moles secretly planted by their enemies. It was the darkest place in the Si family's territory. She had been very timid since she was little, and she was afraid of blood. If this was the past, she would have probably been scared to death if witnessed such a gruesome and bloody scene. However, probably because she had gone through a lot, she didn't feel so disturbed at the moment. The two people who escorted her there were Si Mingli's confidants. Seeing how Yi Wanwan was in a daze, they simply thought she was scared out of her wits. One of them spoke in a threatening tone. Since you had the guts to plot against the family head, you'll end up like these people. Chapter 876. The moment he said that, a resounding hiss came from the corner of the dim room. A soldering iron was imprinted on the man's chest, causing him to emit an ear-piercing sound as he convulsed on the floor and howled in agony. When Yi Wanwan saw this, the corners of her lips twitched. What era are we in right now? You guys are still using such an old-fashioned method of torture? Sure enough, it perfectly suited Si Mingrong's old-fashioned style. She wasn't sure why, but there were many familiar yet foreign images appearing in her head all of a sudden. Yi Wanwan looked at the two guards by her side and said disdainfully, this sort of torture only works on small fish and prawns. For real, professionally trained guards and Secret Service agents, these minor superficial wounds are nothing to them. You're actually counting on this to pry open their mouths? The two guards, they planned on scaring Yi Wanwan and even thought she would scream out of fear and cry her guts out. They didn't realize that not only would she be so calm and casual like she was strolling in her own garden, but she would actually criticize the way they conducted interrogations. Yi Wanwan, hey, do you guys have any idea what mental torture is? Do you guys need me to teach you? It's a special method that destroys a person's willpower. It's much better than the two guards listening to Yi Wanwan's unceasing torrent. Alas, the two people took her to her cell and left swiftly. It was as if there was a monster chasing them. Why are they gone? I'm not finished yet. Yi Wanwan leaned on the metal bars and looked regretful. Seeing that the two of them were gone without a trace, Yi Wanwan could only squat down with her chin in hand as she revealed a suspicious look. Weird, how did I know about all that stuff I said just now? Could it be that I read it in some magazine? Why don't I have any memory of it? However, she had lived through 2 lives before and had twice the memories, so it was perfectly normal for her to be confused or forget some things. In the Age of the Immortals conference room, a few of them were discussing the script. Whoa, super big news. The little gossip king, Gong Su, rushed into the office the moment he arrived. Gong Su, you're late again. Yimu Fan rolled his eyes at him. What news? Are you coming out of the closet? Or are you announcing your marriage? Who's coming out, huh? You're the one who's coming out of the closet. Gong Su glared at Yi Mu Fan, then held his phone and said excitedly, "It's the C family, that legendary C family. What's with the C family?" Han Xianyu asked. Gong Su, it was on the news that the master of the C family died of illness. It just happened this morning. Yi Mu Fan was taken aback. What? The master of the C family died of illness? How's that possible? The C family, everyone's impression of them was that they were the influential aristocratic family in China who were extremely out of reach. They built a huge business empire in China, and Si Han was the king of the empire who steered the entire C family. If he died, the entire building would collapse, causing the economy of the country to fall into turmoil. Han Xianyu said, "Probably just rumors. Which publication dares to talk bad about the C family?" Gong Su, "Yes, nobody dared to, and this news was published only for 5 minutes before it was deleted, but I took a screenshot." Yi Mu Fan, how gossipy can he get? It was published only for 5 minutes, yet he read it and was able to take a screenshot of it. Luo Chen, who was focused on reading his script, lifted his head and asked, "Where's Yi? He's not here yet?" Yi Mu Fan shrugged. "We don't have to wait for him today. He just sent me a message and said he'll be busy these next 2 days. Chapter 877. Outside the ward, Su Changkuan had a grave expression. "We must quickly think of a way. It's way too dangerous for Miss Wanwan to be taken away by Si Ming Li's people like that. But the old madam is ill, and now that the entire Si family is under the control of the elders, our actions are being monitored closely as well." When Su Yi heard that, he looked at his father and was hesitant to speak. Ever since Dr. Sun said he had 6 months left to live, Ninth Master had been preparing for his own death, and already expected something like this would happen. He assumed there was only one outcome, that Miss Wanwan herself wouldn't be willing to leave. Damn it. Why did things have to turn out this way? Ninth Master's health was already improving. In the ward, Dr. Sun closed his eyes and focused on taking Si Han's pulse. "Let's wait a little more." The chief specialist, who was wearing a white coat, looked proud as he spoke with an affirmative tone. "Old son, although you're the top expert in Chinese medicine, there's no doubt about Si Han's condition. We should inform them immediately. Otherwise, they might not even be able to see him one last time." When faced with the expert's questioning, Dr. Sun was indifferent. He refuted, with pent-up troubles, he would naturally have poor qi and blood flow. The blood caused a blockage at the bottom of his heart for many years. After Ninth Master spat out blood, although his body was extremely weak and it seemed like his life was on the line, the fact is that his channels are cleared now. Right now, he's only in a deep sleep and needs some time to recover. When the chief specialist heard Dr. Sun, he gave a look of disdain. "Old son, all this is just your assumptions. But what I have are Si Han's stats, which tells me he won't be able to last even half a day." Previously, he strongly advocated for the surgery, but in the end, Sun Baichao chose to let that woman give it a try. Sun Baichao's words held more weight than his. The old madam and master trusted him more, and now that things had turned out this way, he was very convinced of his own judgment. The other doctors pretty much shared the same sentiments as well. "He's at his last breath already. How's this considered sleeping?" Cough. Just as Dr. Sun and the group of experts were discussing Si Han's condition, a very light cough was heard in the ward. All the experts and doctors turned to the hospital bed instantly. All they saw was the guy who was given the death sentence, opening his eyes slowly. His gaze wasn't murky and lifeless like someone who was dying. Instead, it was clear and bright. Mr. C. At the same time, the experts were stunned to see that on the monitor, it showed that all of Si Han's vital signs had started to recover. On the hospital bed, Si Han felt as if he had walked on a very, very long road. After he woke up, he felt good. His entire body had never felt so good. His gaze swept across the area slowly, and finally, it stopped at the sun rays that were peeping through the gaps of the leaves outside the window. He thought the end of the road would be the end of him and hadn't expected that. He wasn't dead. All the arrangements are already in order. At this moment, she should have already left. The experts were in a mess. "Kyuki, go tell the elders." Outside the ward, Si Ming-li, who had left to prepare for Si Yi-han's funeral at the funeral hall, rushed back quickly and said to Si Ming-rong, "Second brother, I already prepared everything. Everything is in order." Si Ming-rong nodded lethargically. "All right." There seemed to be some noise coming from the ward, then the door was pushed open with the experts pouring out. When he saw the chief specialist, who had told them to prepare for a funeral, hanging his head low, beads of cold sweat started forming on his face. Everybody's hearts sank when they saw the specialist's expression. Could it be that Master has passed away? Chapter 878. Su Yi's body trembled slightly. Ninth Master, Si Ming-rong looked devastated. "Is there any way Master could speak a few words to us?" Si Yi-han had fallen ill too suddenly and he hadn't even left any words behind. While appearing sad, Si Ming-li patted Si Ming-rong's shoulder. "Second brother, my deepest sympathies. It's already quite a feat that Master was able to hang on till now. The Si family still has us." When the chief specialist heard his words, his expression became even uglier. He glanced at Si Ming-li with an indescribable expression and coughed lightly. "Mr. Si is awake." Si Ming-rong was overjoyed all of a sudden. "What? Awake?" "Yes, Mr. Si." The specialist wasn't able to complete his sentence. Si Ming-li was stunned. He thought it was just a momentary recovery of consciousness before his death. Si Ming-li quickly interrupted the specialist and said urgently, "Let's go inside then. Hurry and check if Sis is awake and bring her over. Otherwise, I'm afraid she might not be able to see him for the last time." "Yes." The guards by the side sprinted off to get the old madam. "Specialist, forget it, they'll figure it out when they get in." Hence, the group of elders hurriedly followed behind the specialist and entered the ward. Si Ming-li had already mentally prepared himself. The moment he stepped inside, his eyes turned red and he shot towards the hospital bed like an arrow, then he knelt on the floor. Master, don't worry about us, just go." In the next second, halfway through his cries, that fake mournful expression stiffened on his face like ice. All he saw was a white hospital bed with nobody lying on it. Instead, he found a pair of long straight legs appearing before him. Si Ming-li's back froze and his gaze slowly shifted upwards as a fear he had never felt before swept over him. Why is fourth uncle being so ceremonious suddenly? Si Yi-han straightened his sleeves as he looked down condescendingly at Si Ming-li, who was at his feet. Si Yi-han, who was supposed to be lying on his deathbed, had already changed out of his hospital attire and was wearing a tailor-made suit Yi Wanwan gave him. He even had a dark-colored rose embroidered on the pocket of his chest, and with his charming face, it looked even more eye-catching. At the moment, he was standing against the light from the window and was arranging his cuffs casually. He didn't look like he was about to die at all. Instead, he looked radiant with an icy gaze. Si Ming-li's eyes constricted to its limits. He was so frightened that he took 2 steps back like he had just seen a ghost. Not only Si Ming-li, but Si Ming-rong and the other elders were completely taken aback like they were looking at a real ghost. Then Sun Baichao explained, Congratulations. Ninth Master is in good health now." The blood he spat out just now was the pooled blood that was in his body for years, and he entered a deep sleep temporarily so his body could heal itself. Si Ming-rong took some time to return to his senses until he was able to speak again. "That is Master's health still in any danger right now?" Sun Baichao laughed. "Although Ninth Master's illness can't be completely cured, his condition has stabilized. As long as he continues to take care of his health, it's only a matter of time before he'll fully recover. It's all thanks to Yi Wanwan's meticulous care lately. As Ninth Master's attending physician, I'm honestly ashamed. All of you should really thank her properly." After hearing what Sun Baichao said, Si Ming-li was dumbfounded and in disbelief. He was completely stunned. How could it be that Si Yi-han, who was near death just moments ago, became alive and kicking in the next second? "I just sent that cheap woman to prison. Hurry, get that woman out of there." Chapter 879. 879. Si Ming-li was still kneeling on the ground. His face stiffened and he was twitching as he said, "I heard the doctor said you're awake. So I was too excited, way too excited. He then stood up and pretended like nothing happened. Damn it. Not only is Si Han perfectly fine, but his health is starting to improve. How's this possible? Dr. Liu, is there really nothing seriously wrong with Master's health? Si Mingli probed. When the chief specialist heard that, he was embarrassed and said, "Sorry, I made an incorrect diagnosis just now and didn't check things clearly. Old Sun is more experienced and Mr. C is really out of danger." At this moment, a hobbling figure walked in with a servant. "Dr. Liu, did you tell the truth just now?" Specialist Liu saw that the old madam was walking in and he hurriedly replied, "Old madam, Old Sun and I confirmed and checked together, we're not wrong." Sun Bai Chao looked at the old madam and pacified her. "Old madam, please calm down. It's proven now that Miss Wanwan's recuperation methods were extremely effective, and as long as she continues, even Ninth Master's old illness has a 50% chance of fully recovering." "That's fantastic. That's really great. This is a blessing from our ancestors." "The blessing?" The old madam was extremely emotional as she walked up to Si Han and scanned her grandson up and down. Seeing that he was standing there healthy, not looking pale anymore, she was very elated. Upon seeing that things had reached an end, Si Ming Li's body was trembling as he took a gulp. Before, he merely criticized the girl and one of Yi Jie's legs was crippled for being disrespectful to the mistress of the household. If Si Han found out he had locked the girl up in the dark chamber without permission. Moreover, now the girl was not only the future mistress of the household, but she also saved Master's life too. Taking this opportunity now that Si Han was placating the old madam, Si Mingli retreated from the crowd silently, then hurriedly called his confidant. "Hey, where's that woman? We took her to the dark chamber already. Should we begin the torture?" "Torture my ass. Hurry, get her out of there right now." Get her out?" "Yes. Immediately. Right now. Don't ask why." Okay." Si family's dark chamber. After the two guards at the entrance received the call from Si Mingli, they rushed back, baffled. Meanwhile, Yi Wanwan was squatting there with her chin in her hand and was looking at the man in the opposite chamber getting tortured. From the Punisher and the prisoner's conversation, she found out that the man had infiltrated the Si family and stole a large number of trade secrets. He had been locked up for 3 months already and his lips were still sealed, unwilling to reveal who the mastermind was. Wrong master, your whipping technique is too rough. So unprofessional. The angle is wrong. Really, it's not painful at all if you whip this way and you're wasting your energy. Look, you're already sweating all over and he hasn't even told you a thing. Let me teach you. There's a special method to save you trouble. It's called the feeling of deprivation. Just lock him up somewhere without any natural light, sounds or smells and let him wear something that's very soft. He won't feel a thing when he wears it, which will make him lose all senses, including his sense of time. Let me tell you, a normal person would have a mental breakdown in such a situation in less than 16 hours. Even for those who received special training before, they would only be able to last a day at most. Chapter 880. Yi Wanwan continued criticizing and the big brother, who was executing the torture, cracked the whip in his hands. Come. You do it. I'll let you do the interrogating, all right? Yi Wanwan grinned. Sure. The mole who was pretending to be dead immediately stiffened up. His eyes widened as he shook his head violently with fear. Big bro, please continue whipping me. Don't swap with her. At this moment, footsteps were approaching. Si Ming Li's confidants came over. Duanji, open the door. Let this woman out. One of them said. Yi Wanwan was leaning against the bars. When she heard that, her expression changed and she looked at the two of them coldly. Let me out? The big brother who was in charge of torture looked like he was about to break down. It was as if they were his knights in shining armor. You guys are finally here. This woman is really something else. Did you guys bring her here to be tortured or to torture me? The two of them looked at each other, then looked at excited Yi Wanwan, whose eyes were glistening. Then they turned to the big brother who looked like he was breaking down and they could roughly guess what happened. Thankfully they came over in time. Stop chatting. Open up and let her go. The two of them urged him. Although they didn't know why their boss wanted to let her go, they only needed to execute his orders. The big brother didn't need to know anymore either and quickly went over to open the cell door. My little grandaunt, please get out. Stop bothering me. Yi Wanwan raised her brows and stood in the same spot. Get out? Who said I wanted to leave? The three of them were immediately dumbfounded. Miss Yi, didn't you hear us? We said we're letting you go. Yi Wanwan yawned and directly sat down on the floor cross-legged. Who wants to leave? You guys can just let anybody else out. I'm not done having fun yet. The three people, what? The mole who was whipped till his skin hung in tatters and his flesh was battered. I want to get out. While the three of them were in a daze, Si Ming Li's footsteps could be heard coming from behind them as he rushed over. Where is she? Have you let her out yet? Si Ming Li probed urgently. The guard looked at Yi Wanwan then answered, appearing like he was in a very difficult situation. Fourth elder, if she's not willing to leave, useless. You can't even do such a simple task. Get lost. Seeing how flustered and frustrated Si Ming Li was, Yi Wanwan already knew that Si Han was awake, and he was fine, otherwise, Si Ming Li would never have chased her out with such urgency. Yi Wanwan heaved a sigh of relief. The big, heavy rock in her heart was finally gone. Meanwhile, in the ward, the old madam hugged Si Han and cried emotionally for a very long time. Si Han soothed the old madam as he looked out the window into the distance and felt like something was off. Su Yi was standing by the side and was extremely anxious. Finally, he found a chance to speak. Ninth Master. Feng Yiping quickly interrupted Su. Housekeeper Su, Master just escaped from death. He must have many things to say to old madam. Let's not stay here and disturb them. The old madam held her grandson's hand tightly. All of you should leave first. I'd like to talk to Ajio. Su Yi's expression turned frosty. He ignored Feng Yiping who tried to stop him and directly said, Ninth Master, old madam, Miss Wanwan is still in the dark chamber. When the old madam heard that, her face changed instantly. What did you say? Wanwan's in the dark chamber? Chapter 881. 881. Even the look on Si Han's face changed. Dark chamber. He clearly arranged for someone to protect her and allow her to leave safely. When he didn't see her the moment he woke up, he assumed she definitely left China already. Dark chamber. That's the Si family's prison. Even if a living person walked out of there, they would leave crippled. A sudden cold and menacing atmosphere emerged in the ward. In the dark chamber, Si Ming Li's phone rang and it was a call from Feng Yiping. Si Ming Li said in an annoyed tone, Hello? What is it? At the other end of the phone, Feng Yiping reported in a low voice, We have a problem, Fourth Elder. Ninth Master knows about it and is rushing towards the prison right now. What did you just say? Si Ming Li was panicking. After he hung up, Si Ming Li quickly wiped off the sweat on his forehead and walked towards Yi Wanwan. He had a complete change in attitude and smiled as he performed a 90-degree bow. Miss Yi. Yi Wanwan had a faint smile and looked at Si Ming Li. Everything's fine. Why is fourth uncle being so ceremonious suddenly? Upon hearing her saying the exact same thing Si Han said, Si Ming Li's face nearly contorted into a snarl, but he suppressed his anger. Miss Yi, please pardon me for being disrespectful before. I was simply too worried about Master's health and just wanted to be able to answer the elders at the hospital, so my tone was a little harsh. As a girl, your immune system is weaker and it's really chilly here. You should hurry up and leave. Yi Wanwan didn't mind at all. Fourth uncle, it's no big deal. It's very spacious here and very interesting. There are also free performances by an expert. Si Ming Li's face twitched and he finally couldn't hold his anger back anymore. Yi Wanwan, I'm warning you, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. 1. Yi Wanwan, thank you very much, fourth uncle, but I don't drink. As he watched the time passing by slowly while Si Han was already on his way down, Si Ming Li finally revealed his true nature. Why are you guys still standing there? Help Miss Yi leave this place. Si Ming Li ordered coldly. Yes. The two guards gave each other a knowing look and grabbed Yi Wanwan aggressively. In the next second, before he could touch Yi Wanwan, one of them was sent flying with a kick. Following that, the other man fell to the ground after feeling a severe pain to his knee. Although he heard this woman was pretty skilled, he was completely stunned when he saw that his confidants couldn't even get close to her. Yi Wanwan caressed her fingers and looked at Si Mingli. She laughed casually. I wonder if fourth uncle has heard of this phrase before? Si Mingli knitted his brows tightly. Yi Wanwan continued, it's easier to invite a devil than to send it away. Si Mingli was so mad that he nearly spat out blood. At this moment, there were numerous footsteps coming towards them from a distance. Si Mingli turned around and saw a threatening figure. His entire body stiffened. Master. Aside from Si Han, the old madam was there too, and behind them was Su Yi, Su Chong Kuan, Si Ming Rong, Feng Yi Ping and the group of elders. They all arrived grandly. Ninth Master. The torturer was stunned, then he bowed respectfully. Ninth Master. It was as if the two guards had just seen a ghost. They stood up immediately and knelt at the side, trembling with fear. They didn't think Ninth Master would actually come to the dark chamber. Chapter 882. Isn't Ninth Master about to die? Why did he come here, and how does he look perfectly fine? They only dared to do this to this woman because they thought Ninth Master was dying and Si Mingli would be taking over the family. Si Han was only focused on one thing. His eyes grazed past everyone as he walked towards the girl. When he saw her in the dark chamber, his pitch-black eyes suddenly deepened. There, he saw her in a little red dress. Her black hair fell over her shoulders, she had a rosy complexion and her cherry blossom lips looked tender. In this gloomy and terrifying dark chamber, she was like a rose in full bloom, unbelievably beautiful, illuminating the darkness. Si Han froze for a moment and he stood in front of her. His breath was slightly ragged as the rage in his eyes rose. Why aren't you leaving? Yi Wanwan smiled. Her eyes looked like a myriad of stars in the galaxy. I was waiting for you. What if you woke up and didn't see me? Aside from Si Xia, an unexpected person suddenly appeared at Jean Garden in the middle of the night and wanted to take her away. However, she already made the decision to stay and obviously didn't follow him. As for how she actually got that person to compromise, it was best that Si Han didn't know about it. I was waiting for you. What if you woke up and didn't see me? Si Han's heart was shaken as he looked at her standing before him saying those words with such a sweet smile. At the same time, the air around him became colder. It might have been because the prison was too gloomy that everyone felt a chill up their spines. Swish. Si Han took off his blazer and strode over to Yi Wanwan, wrapping her body up. Si Han had a terrifying look on his face. He looked like a demon that had just stepped out of hell. Yi Wanwan fell into his embrace and said shyly, "What took you so long?" "I was so scared. Guard A, Guard B, torture." A certain someone lying on the ground. Si Han looked at Su. Su Yi immediately whipped out the phone and walked up to Si Mingli. Dad, save me. Save me. Si Jia's blood-curdling shrieks came through the receiver. Jia. Si Mingli's face was as white as sheet. Lately, Si Han had been recuperating and hadn't gotten involved in any bloody fights. He even forgot how ruthless this man was. Si Han covered Yi Wanwan's ears and didn't let her hear Si Jia's horrifying screams. After that, he shot an icy glance towards Si Mingli. His eyes lacked any human emotion. From today onwards, Si Mingli will be discharged from all duties and is expelled from the family clan. He is not allowed to join the clan again for the rest of his life. The moment Si Han said those words, everyone was stunned. What? Si Mingli's expression changed completely. How can you do that? I don't agree to this. This punishment isn't according to the rules. Jia already took the punishment in my place, right? With his status in the Si family, he thought the worst that could happen was his son's other leg getting crippled. But who knew that Si Han could be so heartless? Sis-in-law. Si Mingli looked at the old madam by the side. The old madam shut her eyes without a care for Si Mingli. Big bro. Say something. The master is being so unreasonable. How could you not care? Si Mingli clenched his fists and there was a subtle change in his eyes. Si Yihan was the master of the Si family, but the Si family wasn't controlled by him alone. Si Mingrong stepped forward and said in a deep voice, "Master, this punishment is too serious. There's no such punishment in the family rules." Si Yihan, there isn't. Si Mingrong felt like he was soaking in a cold pond when the man's eyes were on him. Yes. Si Yihan's gaze swept past all the people who were ready to defend Si Mingli and he said indifferently, "There is now. Rules? I make the Si family's rules." Chapter 883. There is now. Following Si Yihan's cold words, there was a dead silence in the gruesome dark chamber. None of the elders dared to say a word. Si Mingrong frowned and didn't refute in the end. At the end of the day, this situation was really not in their favor. If Si Yihan disrupted the state of the family clan for a woman, normally he would have to be stopped, but this woman restored his health, which was tantamount to saving the entire family clan. The rest of the elders hid in the corner and they all chose to feign death. Although the master's actions were a little over the top, they were in no place to comment at this time. Furthermore, who would dare to? It was probably over for Si Mingli this time. There were some elders who realized they were still wearing the little white flowers Si Mingli gave them for the funeral and they quickly took it off. Si Yihan, don't you dare. Si Mingli was in disbelief. He couldn't believe Si Yihan would actually do this. Young man, don't forget that when your dad died, who supported the Si family. Now that you spread your wings, this is how you treat me, huh? Seeing that Si Yihan was pushing him to his death, Si Mingli couldn't play pretend any longer and he started shouting crazily. The old madam's face turned ugly when she heard that. This Si Mingli had been resting on his laurels and was very arrogant and ambitious, getting increasingly out of control. She was just being considerate of Si Yihan's illness, so she hadn't dared to do anything reckless, but who knew that Si Mingli would get so greedy, the more he got, the more he wanted. Si Mingli was still yelling, "The Si family should belong to me. Who are you to take it away? Master, shitty master." Seeing that he was getting more and more out of hand, the old madam gave the guard a meaningful glance. "Take him down." "Yes." Si Mingli was quickly dragged away and his shouts echoed in the dark chamber, "Dumb guy, you'll die a horrible death. Let's see how much longer you have to live dash." A tinge of cold light flashed in Yi Wanwan's eyes. She laid on Si Yihan's chest and glared frostily in the direction where Si Mingli was being dragged away. "Don't worry about that. He'll live till your coffin rots." Upon hearing this nasty comment from her, Si Yihan's frozen expression warmed up a little. Yi Wanwan then seemed to have remembered something as she started to look worried. Si Yihan simply discharged Si Mingli of all his official duties and expelled him from the family clan. This was the same as chasing him out of the Si family. By doing so, wouldn't they never find out who the mastermind was? However, the opposite might happen. As the saying went, a cornered dog will jump over the wall. The old madam urged him. Si Yihan nodded. He carried Yi Wanwan out, then strode out of the dark chamber. Qin Ruoshi, wearing a white dress, stared gloomily at the man who was holding Yi Wanwan protectively and she walked away silently. "Ruoshi, what happened?" Qin Feng asked in a low voice over the phone. "Father, Agio has recovered. The doctor said there shouldn't be anything serious with his health anymore. This guy, we really can't lower our guard around him. Si Mingli, that fool, lost his cool, serves him right. He can't even win over someone of the younger generation." After Qin Feng was done talking, he added, "Since Si Yihan's fine now, we'll stick to the original plan. We won't consider the other options. After all, there's only one man in the entire Si family who's worthy of you." Chapter 884 Jean Garden. While most people could meet again after a long separation, Si Han and Yi Wanwan had nearly been separated forever. Yi Wanwan wanted to hug her beauty affectionately, but as soon as they returned home, Si Han arranged for over 10 doctors to check up on her to confirm she didn't have any injuries. She was also forced to drink a huge bowl of super-ultra disgusting ginger soup before she was chased upstairs to take a hot shower. What a serious lack of emotions. Meanwhile, Si Han sat on the sofa downstairs like an ice sculpture. Si Ming Li's two confidants were dealt with, and the torturer in the dark chamber, Duan Li Zhao, had an ashen face as he stood before Si Han. Ninth Master, I swear to God. I didn't do anything to hurt Miss Yi at all. As he thought about what happened to those two guards, Duan Li Zhao, who had been in charge of punishing prisoners for many years, felt a fear that was even more frightening than all the punishments combined as he stood before Si Han. At this moment, Su Yi was holding a USB in his hand and he rushed over. Ninth Master, I got the CCTV footage of the dark chamber. Currently, Su Yi was covered in a cold sweat. If Miss Wan suffered in the dark chamber, he really couldn't imagine the consequences. Even though the doctors already conducted a thorough check on Miss Wan and confirmed she was physically unharmed, the scars from threats and intimidation from a place like the dark chamber would be harder to heal psychologically. Even if Duan Li Zhao didn't cause any substantial harm to Miss Wan, he would definitely be doomed considering Master's temper if he scared her even a little. Si Han, play it. Su Yi glanced at Duan Li Zhao helplessly. Yes, Duan Li Zhao had worked for the Si family for many years and had always been in charge of the dark chamber. Although he was similar to his immediate superior, Si Ming Rong, and was quite inflexible, he was very loyal towards the Si family. But this time, he violated Ninth Master's greatest taboo. Su Yi didn't dare to delay further as he inserted the USB into the laptop and played the footage immediately. After scanning through the video, Yi Wan's figure appeared on the screen. She seemed confident that Si Han would recover. She had delicate makeup on her face and was wearing a stunning dress. Her expression was calm and she was taken inside by Si Ming Li's confidants. An ear-piercing shriek came from the laptop. In the dark chamber, a man's chest was burnt till his skin split and his flesh protruded. He was drenched in fresh blood that made even Su Yi cringe a little as he watched by the side, but Si Han's face turned even more terrifying. The heart-wrenching screams grew louder and Yi Wan was brought to the cell opposite the man being punished. Su Yi swallowed and almost didn't dare to continue watching. No matter how strong Yi Wan was, she was still a young lady who just turned 20 years old. How could she stand to look at such things? When Ninth Master went to pick up Miss Wan just now, Miss Wan was so scared that she fell into Ninth Master's arms immediately. She must have been really frightened. Thoughts ran through Su Yi's mind before he heard Yi Wan's clear voice from the laptop. What era are we in right now? You guys are still using such an old-fashioned method of torture? Yi Wan was seen hopping closer to the cell, stretching her head to look inside and even shaking her head while she criticized the guards with disdain. Let me tell you guys, this sort of torture only works on small fishes and prawns. Hey, do you guys have any idea what mental torture is? Do you guys need me to teach you? Oh right, there's more. The 10th method is... Su Yi watched as the two guards fled while Yi Wan continued watching Duan Li Zhao with her eyes glistening. She started chattering. Chapter 885. 885. Wrong. Master, your whipping technique is too rough. So unprofessional. Wrong, the angle is wrong. Hey, let me teach you. There's a special method to save you trouble. In the end, Duan Li Zhao was seen on the verge of breaking down in the footage when he tossed the whip to the ground. Come on. You do it. I'll let you do the interrogating, alright? In the footage, the girl was all smiles and exclaimed excitedly, sure. After watching the entire footage, Si Han, Su Yi, there must be something wrong with the way I played the footage. Duan Li Zhao stood by the side and looked aggrieved. He had almost turned to frost. Ninth Master, how could I have the guts to lie to you? Miss Yi really wasn't scared at all. Su Yi hadn't expected that the truth was completely different from what he thought. Even Si Han went silent and his gaze landed on the girl in the footage. He kept looking at her bright and cheeky eyes. She's really cute. Right at that moment, Duan Li Zhao's phone started ringing. It was unclear what the caller said, but Duan Li Zhao's expression turned even more indescribable. What is it? Su asked. Duan Li Zhao choked a little and replied, That man agreed to confess, Su, that spy who stole our trade secrets? Duan Li Zhao, yes, the one in the footage. He was locked up for over 3 months and I used all sorts of methods, but he just wouldn't speak up. Su Yi, then why did he agree to confess all of a sudden? As Su Yi spoke, he turned to look at the footage. He had a sort of not-so-clever guess. Duan Li Zhao, he said he would confess, but he had a condition. Su Yi, what? Duan Li Zhao, don't hand him over to Miss Yi. Su Yi had no idea what to say. Miss Wan simply entered the dark chamber once, and not only was she not traumatized, but she even scared the spy so badly that he agreed to confess? Ninth Master. Duan Li Zhao carefully looked at the man on the sofa. Si Yihan waved, indicating that he could leave. Duan Li Zhao heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly retreated like he just received amnesty. Su Yi also kept the laptop on the coffee table. Su Yi was about to speak to Si Yihan when footsteps came from upstairs. Yi Wanwan was done showering and was coming down. Since they were at home, Yi Wanwan wasn't wearing anything formal and simply wore her fluffy pink bunny pajamas. She looked innocent and harmless, and one would never make a connection between her present self and the girl in the footage. Agio. Showered. And I'm done hug. She had already done the body checkup, drank the ginger soup and showered. She could finally get a hug, right? Si Yihan didn't have any demands this time and willingly took her into his arms. Once Yi Wanwan smelled his familiar scent, she immediately started to yawn. Ever since Si Yihan spat out blood and went into a coma, she hadn't slept a wink. Si Yihan furrowed his brows. Go to bed. Yi Wanwan whined, You have to accompany me. I don't want to sleep alone. I'm scared. Agio, you have no idea how scary and gloomy that dark chamber was. If you woke up any later, I would have had a psychological shadow forever. Si Yihan looked at her and kissed her forehead. All right, I'll accompany you. Sui, Master, you're really playing along with her. Chapter 886. The upheaval that nearly caused the entire Xi family and China's business sector to become a mess suddenly dissipated following news of Si Yihan's recovery. Xi Mingli had always been very cautious and never allowed anyone to have an advantage over him. However, he thought Si Yihan would die for sure this time, so he was careless and left too many loopholes. Xi Mingli's faction was completely expelled from the Xi family, and at the same time, many of his secret henchmen were exposed. There was a large reshuffling of power in the Xi family once again. Late at night. Dad, it hurts. I'm in pain. Dad, you must take revenge for me. I want them dead. I want them dead. Si Jia kept rolling around in bed. This time, not only was one of his legs crippled, but he was tortured and he was completely disabled now. Si Mingli obviously didn't have the energy to worry about this son of his. He yelled with annoyance, Shut the he up. Do you think I don't have enough problems, huh? Sitting on the sofa opposite Si Mingli was his second son, Si Qian, who rushed back from abroad. Si Qian said gloomily, Father, you were too careless this time. I told you so many times that you must never let your guard down around Si Yihan, and I also reminded you that you mustn't act recklessly. Why did you still? Si Mingli was furious. Yi Qian, how could you blame me? The news definitely said Si Yihan was beyond cure, and the doctors even informed us of his critical condition. How could I have known he'd still be alive? Seeing that nobody cared about him, Si Jia threw a tantrum on the bed. Why must it be me? Why do I have to suffer for father? Just because I'm the elder son? Si Qian, you're also his son. Why couldn't it have been you? Si Qian raised his brows with disdain and glanced at Si Jia on the bed. He replied expressionlessly, Because you're a useless bum and this is the only thing you could do for the family. Si Qian, I'm going to kill you. Si Jia moved and exacerbated his wounds, which caused him to wail once again. Si Jia glared at him like a madman and yelled, Huh? Si Qian, I'm a useless bum? What are you then? You think you're any better than me? You think you're so high class? Do you think that Qin Ruoshi woman would even take one glance at you, huh? Now that Si Han is getting better and Dad was chased out of the Si family, you're nothing. You can only be a spare tire your whole life. In the next second, Si Qian clutched Si Yijie's throat tightly. With just a little more strength, Si Yijie would have probably died. Say that one more time. Si Qian's handsome and refined face was now extremely hostile. Yi Qian, that's enough. Why do you care about what he says? Si Mingli glanced at his noisy eldest son, then turned to Si Qian and said, that sickly Si Han really thinks he can hide the truth from everyone in China. Yi Qian, don't worry about it. Whether it's the Si family or a woman, what's yours will be yours. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ocean, the morning sun had just risen. The warm glow from the sun silently basked the vintage manor. There was a mysterious vintage pattern engraved on the wall at the entrance of the manor. The word "Ping'an" was written in a seal script, 1. Suddenly, there was a loud crash of porcelain and the maid screamed in a panic, breaking the silence of the morning. No, this is bad. Little young master is missing. Chapter 887. 887. The next day, early in the morning, elders and higher-ups were lining up outside Jin Garden waiting to see Si Han. All of them were dressed in bright and auspicious colors, and their servants stood next to them, holding all sorts of gifts. After going through such major unrest, they obviously had to show their loyalty. Si Han sat on the sofa in the living room while Yi Wanwan sat next to him lazily. What surprised her most was that these visitors were mostly the ones attacking her. Miss Yi, this is just a little token to show my respect to you. Please accept it. Miss Yi, you've suffered. After putting in so much effort to take care of Master, you were suspected. That Si Mingli is simply disgraceful. Please accept all these tonics so that you may supplement your health. Yi Wanwan glanced at Si Han. Si Han, accept it if you like them. So, Yi Wanwan replied, thank you. Although she expected this to happen, she wasn't used to their sudden change in attitude. In the past, even though she had Si Han's backing, he was severely ill and someone else could have taken over his spot anytime. Plus, given her family background, nobody cared about her at all. Nobody expected Yi Wanwan would stay by their master's side for so long. Her status even became more secure. Also, she was the one who restored Master's health. Nothing needed to be said about the power of the Qin family. They were a family friend of the Si family. From ancestral times, many marriages tied these two families, so their relationship was complicated and tricky. All the Qins up to this generation, including Qin Ruoshi, were simply nurtured and groomed to be the future mistresses of the Si family. Everyone accepted this fact. Most of the Si family thought well of the Qin family, but seeing that Yi Wanwan wasn't a simple person, they gradually held her in greater esteem and didn't dare to act disrespectfully towards her. It seemed like it was still undetermined whose hands the deer would die in. Old residents, Old Madam, Qin Feng, Si Ming Rong were in the living room. Qin Feng came over that day to put some pressure on them. Old Madam, Uncle Rong, the way Master handled this was simply disappointing. The old madam sighed softly and replied, Qin Feng, I understand how you feel. Ruo, she is a good girl. I like her very much, and if she could be with Little Ninth, that'd obviously be really great. But when Little Ninth returned, I already made it clear to you that Little Ninth would be taking charge of his own marriage. This was the only condition he had when he agreed to take over as the head of the household, so I can't break my promise to him. What's more, I see that Little Ninth really likes that girl. In the past, I was always worried that she would hurt Little Ninth, but time has proven that she is true to Little Nine. Qin Feng's face turned gloomier as he listened to the old madam. The old madam had told them these things before, but he believed Si Han would absolutely choose Qin Ruoshi in the end, so he hadn't taken her seriously. Who would have thought this girl would appear out of nowhere, and Si Han would make her the mistress of the household? Qin Feng sneered. So what old madam means is that you will allow that woman to steal our Ruoshi's place? He didn't believe that the old madam and Si Ming Rong would really dare to offend the Qin family. Just how many factions of the C family were secretly trying to rope in the Qin family right now, huh? It could even be said that whichever faction the Qin family supported would have greatly increased chances of inheriting the C family. Even though Si Yihan was the family head, there were quite a few people secretly eyeing his position on the outside. When Si Mingrong heard what was said, he tried to appease Qin Feng. "My good nephew, don't be worried. Master's health still needs to be healed by Miss Yi. It's very common for youngsters to fool around, and no matter how capable Master seems right now, I believe that as time passes, he'll see things more clearly and make the right decisions." Chapter 888. Qin Feng scoffed. "Our Ruo, she has been raised by her grandparents since she was little. She has good social etiquette, knowledge of business investments, and is proficient in the four arts. I dare say that you wouldn't be able to find another young lady in Imperial City who could compare to her. If the master is still going to persist in doing things his way and makes that lowly woman the mistress of the household, ignoring the engagement between our two families, then he's simply embarrassing the C family. That's all I have to say." Qin Feng turned around and left immediately after speaking. Qin Ruoxi's title as Imperial City's top young lady from a noble family wasn't unwarranted. If the major influential families didn't know that Qin Ruoxi was going to marry into the C family in the future, there would be so many people at her door asking for her hand that the Qin family's doorstep would be broken. Si Mingrong said gravely, "Sis-in-law, I understand you love Master, but you must consider the family's interests. Master doesn't listen to anyone and only you can convince him right now. If we get into trouble with the Qin family, I'm afraid it would cause the C family to end up in chaos and danger once again." The old madam slowly opened her eyes. Chaos? Could it get even more chaotic than before Little Ninth returned home? If it wasn't for Little Ninth, the C family would have been torn apart long ago. There's something all of you need to be clear on. The C family needs Little Ninth and we are dependent on him. And in those days, where was the Qin family? They simply sat on the mountain and watched the tigers fighting, not offering to help at all. They made the excuse that they shouldn't meddle with the internal affairs of the C family. It was only when the Qin family noticed Little Ninth gained power that they recalled the marriage agreement between the two families. They stood by Little Ninth's side, merely trying to gain a stable foothold through the marriage. Had it not been for the sake of these so-called family interests and old madam forcing her son into marriage, all these tragedies wouldn't have happened. In order to protect the family, the old madam already lost her only son and even caused Little Ninth to suffer from a young age. She couldn't allow this tragedy to happen again. No matter who Little Ninth decided to spend the rest of his life with, as long as the girl treated Little Ninth sincerely, she would respect him and support his decision. Old madam was from the C family, but she was also Little Ninth's grandmother. In the evening, Yi Wanwan and Si Han accompanied the old madam to have dinner at the old residence. The old madam stood up and thanked Yi Wanwan sincerely. "Wan, Grandma really appreciates you. You took great care of Little Ninth, and if it wasn't for you putting in so much effort to take care of him, I'm afraid Little Ninth would have. If we went with the organ transplant, Little Ninth would have suffered from all the surgeries, even if they might prolong his life for a few years. At least there's hope now that he can fully recover." Yi Wanwan hurriedly stood up to hold the old madam. "Grandma, it's no big deal. This is what I was supposed to do." The old madam looked at her own grandson, then turned to the girl next to him and appeared worried. "I heard from Doctor's son that having children may be difficult with Si Yihan's health, but it's not entirely impossible. Furthermore, his condition is improving, so Wanwan, if you try hard, it might be possible." There was another thing she didn't say explicitly. With Wanwan's current status, it would simply be too challenging to enter the C family. If she had Little Ninth's child, her prestige as the mother would increase as her son's position rose, she would have a greater bargaining chip and could also win over the hearts of many more members of the family. Cough, cough, cough. Yi Wanwan nearly choked after hearing that. "If I try hard? Grandma, shouldn't you be saying this to your grandson? Isn't the man supposed to be the one who takes the initiative with this sort of thing? She's truly his grandma. She probably knows her grandson isn't very comfortable with that aspect." Chapter 889. 889. Si Han glanced at the embarrassed girl next to him and said expressionlessly, "Grandma, I don't plan on having any kids. Furthermore, Dr. Sun already said it's impossible with my current condition. In the future, we can adopt from the clan." Si Han spoke assertively and didn't leave any room for negotiation. Nobody knew better than himself that Yi Wanwan didn't like children and didn't want to have any. The old madam frowned. "This child? Picking a successor is our last resort. Don't you ever want children of your own? What about Wanwan? Have you considered what Wanwan wants?" Yi Wanwan buried her head and didn't cut in. Actually, she was fine with either. Si Han said, "Wanwan likes children and wants to have our own. I let her down in this aspect and will try my best to make up for it." Yi Wanwan was completely stunned. "Since when did I say that? I even mentioned that I hate kids, right? So, Si Han saying this deliberately? He said it was impossible with his condition and said I really wanted kids on purpose? Allowing old madam to think that the Si family let me down? The truth is that Dr. Sun mentioned Si Han's body is recovering smoothly and he'll be no different from a normal person. With that thought, Yi Wanwan suddenly had an inexplicable feeling in her heart. On the way back, there was silence in the back seat of the car. None of them spoke a word. Yi Wanwan rubbed her chin and stared at Si Han with a mixed expression. Actually, she was quite perplexed as well. She wasn't sure why, but she subconsciously felt that she didn't really like children. On one hand, she found them troublesome and not adorable, and on the other hand, she also enjoyed her freedom and carefree life. Her ideal life with her other half in the future should be exciting, and she wanted to travel the world. Bringing a kid around would totally spoil the fun, right? Having children was simply too much responsibility for her. However, now that she thought about it, if she gave birth to Si Han's child. Seeing that Yi Wanwan was staring at him thoughtfully, Si Han turned to her and shot her a suspicious look. "What do you want to say?" Yi Wanwan's little hand played with his collar gently. "Darling, do you like kids?" Si Han, "No. That's really direct." If their future baby found out this was his attitude before conceiving, the baby would so heartbroken. "If we even have a baby in the future?" Yi Wanwan tried probing once more. "What if I really like kids now and really want one, huh?" Si Han, "You do." Yi Wanwan, "I meant this." Si Han thought about it and after some time, he said reluctantly, "I can fulfill your request." Su Yi stole a glance at the back seat while driving. "Master, you look really reluctant. You're really not mindful of your facial expression at all." At night in Imperial City, the place was ablaze with lights. Traffic was heavy and cars were moving to and fro. At a crowded overhead bridge, a man was dressed in an Asian outfit as he sat on the ground and scratched his feet without a care for his image. There were two people next to this man who was dressed like a Taoist priest. One laid on the ground like a dead man while the other was wearing a wild outfit and was flipping through a shabby fashion magazine with great interest. He shouted occasionally when a few people walked by. The three of them didn't make a single sale the entire night and the bowl in front of them was empty. "Captain, we can't keep on hiding, right?" Spray of Flowers sighed. The devotee said helplessly, "I thought Captain already had an agreement with Boss Yi to get her to help?" Spray of Flowers turned to him like he was looking at a fool. "That's the last resort, okay? Little Devil is so smart, as if he would be deceived by a random person." The two of them were chatting when a resounding clang rang out. They suddenly received an entire stack of $100 bills and it was in euros. "Oh, damn. Where did this local tyrant come from?" Chapter 890. Spray of Flowers and the devotee, who seemed like they were on the verge of dying from starvation, immediately got up. Even the iceberg man, who was playing dead, was awoken by the money. "Damn. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. Boss, you're a great person. This amount of money is enough to bury my husband 10 times. Boss, would you like to have your fortune read or check your feng shui? I can go to your doorstep. I guarantee my services will leave you satisfied." The people who gave them the money were two men dressed in black. One of them said, "You don't have to thank us. It wasn't us who gave the money." It wasn't you guys?" Then this money is? Spray of flowers and the devotee were confused. The two men in black moved aside at the same time and left a space in the middle. In the next second, a little figure suddenly emerged behind the men in black. When they saw that porcelain and perfect little expressionless face, Spray of flowers and the devotee froze and became like rocks. Shit. Damn. How is this a local tyrant? This is the little king of hell paying us a visit. Spray of flowers hurriedly hid behind the iceberg man's coffin. The devotee hugged his head and shrunk while the iceberg man fell backward without hesitation and shut his eyes. This little boy, who was about 4 to 5 years old, had an exquisitely beautiful little face, but the expression on his face was akin to a robot. He looked icy and rigid with only a tinge of luster in his pitch-black eyes. The little boy's gaze swept across the three men and he said, "It's been long since we last met." The moment he opened his mouth, Spray of flowers and a certain godly rod instantly trembled. "We don't want to see him. At all. We don't want to see this little devil." Spray of flowers. It's been long. We haven't seen you for such a long time indeed. Little young master, why are you here in China all of a sudden? Devotee, China is pretty fun. Do you want us to be your tour guides? The little boy ignored the two of them trying to change the subject and got straight to the point. Where is my uncle? Dead meat, we can't trick him. It was almost impossible to trick him anyway. The devotee coughed. We aren't too sure either, Spray of flowers chimed in. Captain often appears in one moment and disappears in the next. We really don't know where he is. Little young master can return first. We'll contact you once we find Captain. It's too dangerous for you to be here by yourself. The little boy glanced at the two of them. Dangerous. Spray of flowers and the devotee were tearful and hugged one another. Dangerous my ass. Even if it's dangerous, we're the ones in the most danger. Devotee, little young master, don't ask anymore. We won't betray our captain. Spray of flowers, that's right. We will never betray our captain. Little boy, I'll give you guys 3 seconds to consider. What, 3? 3 seconds? Captain is at Dragon Burial Hill in the suburbs. The devotee and Spray of flowers responded in unison. The little boy turned around and walked away. Let's go. The two men in black quickly followed him. Yes. Behind them, Spray of flowers and the devotee heaved a sigh of relief. Mother, this scared the hell out of us. Captain, sorry about this. We tried our best and struggled for 3 seconds before we betrayed him. Chapter 891 Dragon Burial Hill in the suburbs of Beijing. In the forest, on a tree covered with leaves and large branches. Nameless Nye was suspended in midair on one of the branches with his legs crossed. He chewed on a blade of grass and was pulling the leaves overhead languidly. Under the gigantic tree, a mixed-blood guy with a big build was filled with worries as he held his head and looked at the man on the tree. Captain, how long do we have to hide here for? Nameless Nye replied lazily, we'll take it one day at a time, brick-moving foreigner, but hiding isn't the solution, Nameless Nye sighed. Little sweetie, you think I like hiding in such a deserted and old place filled with unwanted tombs? Pretending that I have no signal would be too easy for that little devil to uncover, so I could only run to a place where there really isn't any signal. Brick-moving foreigner. That isn't the point, all right? Captain, didn't you say you'd ask Boss Yi for help? Nameless Nye glanced at him helplessly. Do you really think that ancestor of mine can be fooled so easily like a 3 or 5-year-old kid? Brick-moving foreigner. Isn't that true? Nameless Nye continued. Anyway, this plan isn't quite reliable and it's our last resort. Otherwise, if he finds out I haven't found his real mom, he'll kill me for sure. I'll just drag this out as long as I possibly can and see if I can find his real mom. Even if I can't his real mom, his real dad would be fine too. The brick-moving foreigner shook his head. But we've been searching for almost 4 years. Nameless Nye tossed away the grass in his mouth and sighed. Why am I cursed? Why do I have to have such a nephew? Look at that guy's nephew from the Mu family. He's so adorable and Mo. How could that dumb guy have such a cute nephew when I don't? And there's also President Ji's grandson. Io, he's such a sweet talker. But what about me? I only have this little devil. Little sweetie, am I right? The brick-moving foreigner was stirred up and nodded with agreement. He thought his captain made sense and was about to chime in, but the moment he looked up, he paused and his eyes widened in shock. A phrase immediately appeared in his head. Speak of the devil. The little devil suddenly appeared behind the tree not far away, and there were 2 bodyguards by his side. His icy gaze paused on him for a second, then it slowly turned to nameless Nya, who was on the tree. The brick-moving foreigner was simply scared out of his wits. He quickly said, No, 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 no. Captain, I think your nephew is really cute and obedient. He's very well behaved and cute. Anyone who sees him will like him. I've never seen any other kid as mesmerizing and likable as your nephew. At that moment, he had to pull out all the Chinese words he knew that could be used to praise a child. Sitting on the tree branch, nameless Nya felt a sudden chill down his spine, but he didn't think much of it. He looked at his team member with shock. Damn, little sweetie, have you been in the burial hill for too long that a ghost possessed you? How could you say such things that go against your conscience? The brick-moving foreigner was extremely anxious. He hurriedly waved his hand towards nameless Nya, hinting at him to stop talking completely. However, nameless Nya didn't pick up the distressed cue from his own team member and continued cursing. Chapter 892 Nameless Nya. Have you met a child so unappealing? He is simply a little devil who made his way to Earth. The little devil said softly, Devil? Nameless Nya didn't realize who spoke and nodded his head. Exactly, he's a little devil. Do you know the abyss of suffering I've gone through in the Nya family all these years? Little sweetie, let me tell you, there's no use even if we found his parents. He's so savage that his parents wouldn't acknowledge him for sure. Upon hearing this, the brick-moving foreigner covered his face and held his forehead. He had completely given up on rescuing his captain. The little devil's jet-black eyes narrowed and he spoke slowly, emphasizing every word. Is that so? So this is what Uncle thinks, huh? Once that childlike voice rang out, nameless Nya was completely stunned as he hovered on top of the tree. He finally realized that the voice of the person who spoke just now didn't seem right, and his stiffened neck creaked as he looked down from the tree. In the next second, he saw his little ancestor who was supposed to be more than 1,000 miles away, the little devil whose parents wouldn't acknowledge him. It was truly his real ancestor appearing right before him. Fuck. A miserable shout reverberated at the top of the hill. Bang! Nameless Nya fell to the ground from the tree and landed harshly on a bed of leaves. Nameless Nya gritted his teeth and looked at the brick-moving foreigner. Little sweetie, why didn't you tell me? Little sweetie looked very innocent. I did, but you didn't care. Nameless Nya pounded the ground with anger and looked at that icy little face. You? How did you find me? Your stalking skills reached this level? Are you even human? The little devil looked condescendingly at nameless Nya, who was on the ground. Do I need stalking skills to find you? Nameless Nya was enraged. Hey, don't look down on me, yeah? Let me tell you this, up till now, there's no one who can break my record in hiding. As long as I don't want anyone to find me, nobody would be able to. Nameless Nya spoke with great confidence. Little devil, someone told me where you were, so I don't need to try to break your record. Nameless Nya was dumbfounded. What? Someone told you? Could it be? No, that's impossible. Each of our team members is very honest and reliable. They would never be swayed by money and definitely wouldn't give in to evil forces. The moment Nameless Nya said that, a phone rang. Little Devil answered the call with an expressionless face. Hello? What's the matter? The man's extremely bewitching voice came through the receiver. Hello, little young master. It's me, the devotee. It's nothing much, I just wanted to see if you found Captain. That place is quite secluded, so I better give you the details. After you reach the top of the hill, turn right then walk 500 meters then turn left. After that, the devotee wasn't done speaking when someone else snatched the phone away from him. Io, are you stupid? You darn godly rod, move aside. Little young master, this is little flower. I've already drawn Captain's position on a map and sent the image to your phone. Please take a look. Nameless Nye, brick-moving foreigner. Nameless Nye went blank for a full 10 seconds before he snatched the phone. You two bastards. How dare you betray me? Wait and see. Chapter 893 Cries. Whales spray of flowers and the devotee were startled by Nameless Nye's sudden roar of anger. I'm glad you found him, Captain. Why do you say that? You can't call this betraying you. We're clearly trying to help your family get back together. Captain, have a great bonding session. That's right, Captain. We won't disturb you any further. We'll hang up first. Good night, Captain. The two of them then hung up without hesitation. Nameless Nye, good night, your father. After yelling, Nameless Nye suddenly realized the air around him had turned colder. Then he saw his little ancestor's face becoming extremely frosty. Nameless Nye knew he had completely infuriated the little devil this time. Not only did he fail at finding his parents, but he even hid from the devil on purpose. Nameless Nye, big shot, what exactly do you want, little devil? Have you found my mother? Nameless Nye, seriously, this line brings tears to my eyes. Now I even have nightmares at night, dreaming that the demon whispers this exact sentence in my ear. Seeing that Nameless Nye didn't respond, the little devil pulled up a video. There was no gentleness in his voice at all as he said, "Uncle, I am sorry." When he heard these 3 words, "I am sorry," Nameless Nye's hairs stood on end. He stared at his phone and shouted out loud to stop him. Don't. Ancestor, please give me a chance. Let's talk this over. Ancestor, baby. The cutest and most well-behaved baby in the universe. The little devil's face didn't change at all and it didn't look like there was any room for negotiation. Uncle, time is up and you're left with no more chances. With that said, his thumb reached for the send button. Seeing that the little devil was about to send that video of him and spray of flowers. Stop. I found your mom, Nameless Nye yelled, and his voice kept reverberating throughout the empty woods. The little fellow paused for a moment. Even his little thumb stopped in midair. Seeing that devil finally stopped what he was about to do, Nameless Nye looked like he was given a new lease on life. That scared the hell out of me. If this video was sent out, he might be skinned alive by his parents. Nobody would believe what he said. They would only believe this little devil. His status in the family was truly pathetic. The little fellow kept quiet for a long time, then he looked at Nameless Nye firmly with his clear and bright eyes. Take me to meet my mommy. Nameless Nye forced the guilt down and hurriedly said, cough, baby, don't be so anxious. Even if you didn't say it, I was definitely going to take you to see her, but I need a little more time to collude. I need a little more time to prepare and welcome you, right? Actually, I didn't want to tell you so I could give you a surprise. Look, now there's no surprise, little devil, I don't need it. Nameless Nye racked his brain. Then you have to at least prepare a little, right? Make yourself more presentable to see your mother. From what I know, your mom's extremely gorgeous. Of course, I don't mean it in a negative way. You're so adorable and your mom will definitely love you regardless. But isn't it good to allow your mom to love you more? Little devil nodded. Sure. Nameless Nye was so elated that he was close to tears. The little devil was finally willing to listen to him. After speaking, the little devil looked at him. Don't tell my mother that I'll be seeing her. But Nameless Nye didn't get it and was prepared to collude with Famous Yi in advance. What if something went wrong? Little devil, didn't you want to make it a surprise? That isn't a bad idea. I want to give my mother a surprise. Nameless Nye. Chapter 894. Nameless Nye really wanted to kill himself. Why did I even suggest a surprise? How would that be a surprise? She'll be completely scared, alright? I really dug a grave for myself. Imperial City, Victory Grand Hotel, Nameless Nye. It's really late. Aren't you going to bed yet? Little devil, jet lag. Nameless Nya. Oh, Nameless Nya. Just how many sets of clothing did you bring? Why do your outfits look the same? Just choose one. Hurry up and sleep once you're done choosing. I have to send a secret message to someone, okay? Little devil, I'm meeting my mom. How could I be careless about it? Nameless Nya. Thanks to his nephew, after sleeping under bridges and streets for so long, Nameless Nya finally slept in a president's suite. However, he really wasn't in the mood to enjoy it since he was sharing a room with the little devil. From the time they left Dragon Burial Hill, he had been looking for a chance to send a secret message to Yi Wanwan, but he hadn't gotten the chance to do so yet. It was too risky to play tricks right under the little devil's nose. If he found out and saw through their act, it would be over for them. In the end, Nameless Nya realized his only choice was to allow Famous Yi to freestyle and act on her own. Famous Yi, my little life is in your hands. These 2 days, Yi Wanwan had been entertaining batches after batches of relatives and higher-ups. At nighttime, she could finally rest a little and check the company's WeChat quickly. Yi Han had just finished showering and he walked out of the bathroom. He laid next to Yi Wanwan and read his documents without bothering her, although his existence was enough to bother her already. Yi Bai, sorry, everybody, I've been busy due to some personal matters so I couldn't attend the script meeting. Yi Mu Fan, don't worry, I'm looking after the company here. But what have you been busy with, huh? She must have gone out to play with that wild man. Yi Wanwan was chatting with Yi Mu Fan and Han Xianyu about work when Gong Su messaged her privately all of a sudden. Gong Su, you're finally back. I'm going to die holding this in. There's some juicy gossip. Extremely juicy, Yi Bai, what gossip? Are you coming out of the closet or is megastar Xie about to get married? Gong Su, Yi, why do you talk exactly like Felix, huh? I'm not coming out of the closet and neither is megastar Xie about to get married. It's about Yi Han. That legendary Xi family's master, Yi Han, died from an illness a few days ago. Did you know? Yi Wanwan looked at the private chat with Gong Su, then glanced at Yi Han, who just came out of the shower with his hair still damp and wearing pajamas. Then she decided to send Gong Su an emoji that read, dragging a 40-meter-long knife. Gong Su sent an emoji covering its face with a handkerchief and acting shy. Then he replied, Gong Su, Yi, why do you want to chop someone up, Yi Bai, hurry and delete them all. What nonsense are you talking about? Didn't the Xi family already confirmed that Yi Han's fine? Gong Su, oh Yi, you've also been paying attention to this, huh? I'm not talking nonsense, There's quite a hubbub about this and everyone in the upper class knows about it. If it wasn't for what happened to Yi Han causing an upheaval in the Xi family, this kind of news would never have spread. In summary, according to my opinion, Yi Han is definitely dead. The Xi family is worried it'll lead to chaos, so they quickly eradicated all the related news, then lied to the world that he's still alive. Gong Su analyzed it clearly and logically and was very confident about his own conclusion. Yi Wanwan looked at the word, dead, and really wanted to punch someone in the face. She gritted her teeth and replied with one sentence. Chapter 895. 895. Yi Han heard the gritting of Yi Wanwan's teeth and tilted his head to look at her, then his eyes inadvertently landed on her phone screen. All he saw was Yi Wanwan typing furiously. Yi Bai, I think he's living well and fine though. Gong Su, how are you so sure, Yi? Is it your prediction again? Yi Bai, because he's on my bed right now. Yi Han. Gong Su. Gong Su crashed instantly. Yi Han looked at the way she was gritting her teeth and a tinge of gentleness and warmth came over his face. After about 10 seconds, Gong Su finally managed to climb back up. Gong Su, it's fine if you just joke around with me about this. We're all men and I understand. But don't ever let your boyfriend find out about it. Let me tell you, sometimes, a man's jealousy can be scarier than a woman's. Yi Wanwan tossed her phone aside and ignored Gong Su's babbling. This guy has a crow's beak. He can't say anything nice. Dead, 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 how unlucky. Yi Han stretched his arm and stroked her head softly. Doesn't matter what others say. Yi Han recalled what Yi Wanwan said to Si Mingli when they were in the dark chamber. Live till your coffin rots. Yi Wanwan nodded. That's right. We have to believe in science. Dr. Sun already said that if we continue like this, your condition will improve and you'll be completely fine. Mo Xian said she was Si Han's point of balance, and if that was the case, she definitely wouldn't have any problems on her end. Aside from managing her company every day, she would be learning by Si Han's side. She would only go to school occasionally to accumulate the course credits she needed, and her life and circle of friends were very simple. Her relationship with Si Han was also more stable now, so there was definitely nothing in her life that could break this point of balance. Not long afterward, Yi Wanwan received a lesson that left a deep impression on her. You can't simply set up a flag on this guy. Si Han placed down the document in his hands. Go to bed. When Yi Wanwan heard that, she blinked. We're going to bed just like that? We're not doing anything? Si Han looked at her plainly. What do you want to do? Yi Wanwan rubbed her chin and blinked. Although you don't want to have kids, don't you like the process of making them? Isn't your condition more stable now? Did Dr. Sun say we can't do it? She was just afraid Si Han's condition would worsen. A hot flash appeared in Si Han's eyes, but it was instantly put out and the iciness was restored. After that, Si Han said expressionlessly, Dr. Sun said we can, but we need to take note of the time. How long? Yi Wanwan asked. Si Han glanced at her. The look on his face made her want to clench her teeth instinctively. Then she heard Si Han's reply, 10 minutes. Yi Wanwan expressed her sympathy as she said, let's just sleep then. With Si Han's physical strength, how could they do it within 10 minutes? The next morning, as usual, Yi Wanwan woke up early to exercise. She wasn't sure why, but what Si Xia said that day bothered her a little. 11, who was exercising with her, saw that Yi Wanwan wasn't herself, so he asked out of concern, Miss Wanwan, are you okay? Yi Wanwan spat out the grass in her mouth and immediately raised her head and asked, 11, let me ask you something, are my skills useless? 11, did I hear her wrong? I'm asking you, am I very useless? Yi Wanwan thought he hadn't heard her, so she repeated her question. Chapter 896. This question made 11 stunned for a long time. After some time, 11 came to his senses and hurriedly said, Miss Wan, how could that be? Did someone gossip and spread rumors? Don't listen to them. They were all defeated by your hands. How could anyone be so shameless to say you're useless? If your skills are considered useless, what about us then? 11 got Feng Xianyi involved. Captain Feng, am I right? Feng Xianyi nodded sincerely and indicated his agreement. Yes, teacher is amazing, Yi Wanwan sighed. However strong someone is, there will always be people who are stronger. Yi Wanwan recalled the killers she met when she just returned from Myanmar and that white-haired man who appeared from nowhere. If it wasn't for that strange white-haired man that night, she wouldn't have been able to deal with those killers with her current abilities. When Feng Xianyi heard that, his eyes lit up and he stuttered, even though that's true, but, teacher, is already really compared to ordinary people. Yi Wanwan looked at Feng Xianyi, interested in hearing more. Ordinary people? Then who are the abnormal people? Feng Xianyi pondered his answer. For example, a few secret family clans. Yi Wanwan, secret family clans? When 11 heard that, he started to explain further. For instance, martial arts families. Following the decline of the cold weapons era, it was a common belief that martial arts had declined, when in fact, there were still many ancient martial arts aristocratic families all over the world with unfathomable strength. Miss Wanwan, look at us. We're the so-called secret agents who were secretly groomed by aristocratic families. We may look very powerful, but to a real secret family clan or to an ancient martial arts aristocratic family, we're probably no different from child's play. Yi Wanwan listened attentively and asked, do these secret family clans and ancient martial arts aristocratic families really exist? 11 explained, it said that in foreign countries, the power of such a secret family clan is so terrifying that they could outpower the nation. But this is all beyond the knowledge of ordinary folks, so naturally, no one really knows, not even us, it's all hearsay. Looking into the distance, Feng Xianyi murmured. To ordinary people, the world they know really isn't the complete picture. Yi Wanwan glanced at Feng Xian. Well, take a group of mercenaries for example. In China, mercenaries were forbidden and such groups weren't allowed to exist, but ordinary people didn't even know what a mercenary did. There were so many mercenary groups in the world. After chatting for some time, Yi Wanwan concluded training for the day. She had an etiquette lesson with Si Yihan that night, so she had to conserve some energy. Oh right, I heard the Si family has to host that Mr. Mu next month. He doesn't have a simple background, does he? Yi Wanwan simply asked in passing. 11 thought for a bit and replied, that Mr. Mu seems like an average businessman on the surface, but it's rumored that he's enigmatic and impossible to predict. No one really knows what he does and the Qin family has always been quite interested in establishing a relationship with him. I see. Yi Wanwan rubbed her chin and mumbled to herself, Mu Sui Feng. Why does this name sound somewhat familiar, huh? Yi Wanwan waved off the uneasy thought in her head, took a shower and headed to the office. Chapter 897, 897 Late at night. On the leather sofa, Si Mingli glanced coldly at his confidant. Have the arrangements been taken care of? Old master, don't worry. The people I dispatched are experts hired at a high price. No matter how skilled that woman is, she could never fend off so many attackers. Anyway, they're all hired fighters, so we don't have to appear in person at all. It'll be done in complete secrecy and nobody will know it's us. Si Mingli said sternly, Are you sure there's nobody by that woman's side protecting her? His confidant replied firmly, I already double-checked. The house where that woman lives only has 5 servants. Aside from the bodyguard who might have some martial arts skills, the others are all old, weak and sickly. They're not a threat at all. Since Si Yihan will be going overseas soon with the Mu family, it's the best chance for us to strike. Si Mingli's face darkened. Do a clean job and remember, I want her alive. Yes. After his confidant left, Si Qian, who was sitting on the opposite sofa, said, Father, are you sure you want to capture that woman to threaten Si Yihan? Si Mingli sneered coldly and said frostily, That bastard, Si Yihan, was so harsh this time. If we don't retaliate, he'll really think we can be easily bullied. No matter how useless Yi Jie is, he's still my son. I really can't stand that young guy and little slut always humiliating us. I want to see how important this woman is to Si Yihan and how far he'll go for her. Si Mingli looked at his second son and said confidently, Yi Qian, I know you're careful, but the mercenaries I hired this time were all C grade and above. It'll be difficult for that woman to butt in. The ranking of mercenaries in descending order was S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Anyone who could join a mercenary group was highly skilled. It was exorbitant to hire an A-ranked mercenary, and an S-ranked mercenary was akin to a phoenix feather and unicorn horn. Even if you had money, that didn't mean you would be able to hire them. Even the lowest-ranking ones came at a high price, not to mention how Si Mingli offered a high price to hire 3 C-ranked mercenaries. Using C-ranked mercenaries to capture that woman could be considered as viewing her with high regard. With that thought, Si Qian felt at ease. As Si Yihan was going overseas to discuss business, Yi Wanwan returned to the little house of Rose. There was a fresh floral scent in the little house and everything was silent and peaceful as usual. Yi Wanwan went upstairs to shower after she had her meal. The housekeeper, old Jiang, was carefully inspecting the doors and windows. Fatty Heidi was cleaning up the kitchen while stealing some food, and long-haired Tang Bin and bearded man Song Chong were trimming the flowers and lazily patrolling the area. The Lolita maid, Jiao Jiao, was drooling as she clutched her phone and eagerly ogled a melodramatic idol drama series. In the shadows of the yard, 3 figures approached them silently. The leading mercenary said, There's an old man, a chef and a little maid inside the house. They all don't have any fighting abilities. Only that gardener and security guard are middle-aged men. We'll deal with those 2 first. The other mercenary next to him nodded, indicating agreement. All right then. Joe, you go upstairs and Mac will deal with that chef. I'll go deal with those two men. Okay. The three of them were about to take action when one of the mercenaries suddenly stared at the two men not far away and revealed a suspicious look. Wait. Why did he feel that the long-haired gardener and bearded security guard looked so familiar, like he had seen them somewhere? What is it? The person next to him asked. The mercenary shook his head and quickly withdrew his conjecture. Nothing much, let's act according to the plan. Chapter 890. Yi Wanwan went downstairs after showering. In the end, she saw little Lolita sitting on the sofa, crying her eyes out. Jiao, what's going on? Little Lolita sobbed. Master, in this drama series, the female lead contracted a terminal illness and the male lead died with her in the name of love. It's too sad. Master, this male lead acts really well, it's so touching. Yi Wanwan peeked at little Lolita's phone and was speechless. The male lead was actually Gong Su. It was one of the most exaggerated melodramatic drama series Gong Su had acted in during his early years. His acting was very awkward, yet this girl watched till she cried. Cough, continue watching then. Yi Wanwan took the disc and was about to head back upstairs when the fatty walked over attentively. Master, the supper for tonight is spicy crayfish. Please wait a moment. It'll be ready very soon. Yi Wanwan sniffed the alluring fragrance in the air and lowered her head to look at her waistline. After these guys realized that using a beauty trap wouldn't work, they started to change their strategy and bombarded her with delicacies instead. Her clothing size was just about to increase now. Thankfully, Yi Wanwan forced herself to work out every single day. Otherwise, she would definitely return to being as fat as before. At the same time in the yard, the three mercenaries had divided the tasks, and after they were certain of the situation in the yard, they strode over and directly climbed over the wall. After the two mercenaries left, the leader pushed aside the shrubs quietly and headed in the direction of the long-haired man and bearded man. Alas, when the leader stretched his arms out to part the branches in front of him, two heads suddenly appeared before him and his two targets were squatting there, staring straight at him. The long-haired guy got excited. Ayaya Changji, look, there really is a little thief here. Changyi, you're amazing. Bearded man, of course. You guys. The mercenary was shocked, but he was well trained and calmed himself down very quickly. He still looked brave upon being noticed. TSK, they actually think I'm a little thief? Seriously, ignorant people have no fear. The old housekeeper was patrolling the area and walked past them when he saw the mercenary who broke inside. He was momentarily stunned as well and said, "What happened? Who is he?" The long-haired man and bearded man shrugged their shoulders. Who knows? Why don't we take him in and see what he says? Finally, in the living room, the five servants were all held back. Yi Wanwan was sitting on the sofa, waiting for her supper. She hadn't expected three men in black shirts to come to her instead. They even captured her little crayfish. Oh wait, her five subordinates too. Master, Jiao is terrified. Don't kill me. Don't kill Jiao. Little Lolita was grabbed by the neck by a ferocious-looking mercenary and she was crying fearfully. Meanwhile, the fatty had a plate of little crayfish in his hand with a sharp knife pointed at his back. The long-haired man, bearded man and old housekeeper were also brought inside and were monitored by the side. All of you, shut your mouths and give me some peace. You're not allowed to make any noise. I can allow all of you live. This has nothing to do with you guys, understand? The leader of the mercenaries bellowed out sternly. The mercenary who had the fatty with him glanced at the servants who couldn't fight back at all and mockingly said, "This was such an easy mission, yet they hired three of us C-rank mercenaries." When Yi Wanwan heard that, she looked at the three men and her expression was indescribable. Three C-rank mercenaries. Chapter 899. 899. When the little Lolita heard that, she started sobbing and wiped her tears. Master, Jiao is about to die. I can't be by your side anymore. When I'm no longer with you, you must eat well and sleep well, all right. The corners of Yi Wanwan's lips twitched like she was about to collapse. Isn't this a line from that melodramatic series she was watching just now? The mercenary behind little Lolita swept his gaze across the 5 servants and thought they looked pretty familiar, but he just couldn't recall where he saw them before. Although he found them quite familiar, he didn't dwell on it and focused on completing the mission instead. The mercenary noticed little Lolita had the closest relationship with Yuanwan, so he grabbed her neck and looked gloomily at Yuanwan, who was on the sofa. He threatened, "Miss Yi, we don't want to create more problems, so I advise that you cooperate with us and follow us back. Otherwise, we might have to sacrifice a few lives for nothing." Yuanwan didn't bother with the bunch of actors and looked at the mercenary, aiming to fish out more information. "Who sent you guys over?" Judging by these people's skills and ranks, they were definitely a different batch from the ones who tried to knock her out on the road. The leader looked at her condescendingly. "Miss, I think you don't know what's going on here and we have no obligation to answer your question." "Seemingly? Or Qin Roshi?" Yi Wanwan continued interrogating. The other party's eyes turned cold. "I already said we have no obligation to answer your question." He then looked at the time on his watch in annoyance. "Please." Yi Wanwan chuckled. "Forget it then. I just wanted to find out who had such a deep hatred against the 3 of you. What are you trying to say? Stop dragging things out." The leader was losing his patience as his palm headed for Yi Wanwan directly. However, before he could even get close to her, the old housekeeper protected Yi Wanwan and stood in front of her. "Outrageous. You're not allowed to be rude towards her." The mercenary's eyes were frosty. "You old thing, don't you understand what I said? If you don't want to die, shut the hell up and get away. And you guys, get over there and form a line. Hold your heads down and squat there. Don't get in my way." The other mercenary looked disdainfully at the servants in the room, a bodyguard who didn't dare to fight back at all, a fat chef holding a plate of crayfish like a dumbass, a maid who kept weeping and an old man about to enter his grave. TSK, they could have simply hired a couple fighters to deal with such nobodies. Why did they have to hire mercenaries? I don't even feel like laying my hands on them. One of the mercenaries named Joe reluctantly attacked the bearded man, who seemed to be the most skilled in the group. A swish resounded. The little bodyguard actually managed to intercept his fist halfway and he wasn't even sure what moves the bodyguard used. Meanwhile, a terrifying and deadly aura that could never come from a little bodyguard started to pour down in torrents. Fear crept up in Joe's heart as he acutely sensed the danger. "You," the other 2 mercenaries frowned when they saw what was happening. "Joe, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Deal with him right away." The mercenary tried to retract his arm but he couldn't move an inch. He was panicking so badly that cold sweat was trickling down his forehead. The bearded man held onto that mercenary's fish and turned to his partner, who had his arms crossed and was waiting for a good show. "Baby, did you hear that just now? The 3 of them are mercenaries." Chapter 900. The long-haired man chuckled. "Chung, of course I heard that." The bearded man laughed weirdly. We thought he was a little thief at first, didn't expect that we'd meet someone in the same profession." The moment the 2 words, "same profession," were heard, following the horrifying scream, the mercenary was sent flying out and his entire body knocked into the wall heavily. "Joe!" The other 2 mercenaries turned pale with fright as they looked at that bearded man with disbelief. What did this man just say? Same profession. This little bodyguard is actually also a mercenary? Darn it. We shouldn't have let our guards down. Joe clambered up with much difficulty, but the moment he stood up, he was sent flying once again, and this went on a countless number of times. In the huge living room, there were resounding bangs, came one after the other. It was the sound of his body crashing against the wall. The leader realized the situation wasn't in their favor and decided to join the fight. In the end, he just moved his feet when he saw a head of long hair flashing by. That long-haired man was blocking his way. "Courting death, huh?" The leader howled furiously and waved his fist. Crash. In the next second, the long-haired man used the same technique as the bearded man and sent him flying across the room. The fatty narrowly dodged the incoming leader and immediately bellowed, "Fuck!" The one with the surname Tang. What are you flinging at her? How dare you hurt my little crayfish? I'm going to fight it out with you. Damn it! The second mercenary, who was flung across, was in disbelief as he looked at the long-haired man who seemed so gentle and weak. What's going on here? How could this guy be so terrifyingly skilled? No way. I have to think of a solution. The leader's eyes lit up, then he charged towards the fat chef in front of him. In the end, the moment he moved, the fat chef before him actually disappeared without a trace like a spirit. After some time, a cold and eerie voice rang out from behind him, "Looking for me?" The leader was scared out of his wits. He instinctively ran towards the exit, but when he reached the door, a kick sent him flying. The person who kicked him was the one he called Old Thing, the old housekeeper. Who exactly are these people? How could two C-rank mercenaries be left unable to retaliate at all? The mercenary who was grabbing the little Lolita noticed that the situation was unfavorable and hurriedly let the little Lolita go and stepped forward to help. He pushed her away harshly and little Lolita's body swung violently. The little pink bunny-shaped necklace around her neck was yanked off and the crystal broke into pieces instantly. "My little bunny, master gave it to me." Little Lolita stood there in a daze and stared at the necklace on the floor. The innocence and cuteness gradually dissipated from her eyes and turned into a creepy, cold-blooded, murderous stare. The fatty at the opposite side was so cold that he sneezed. "Ayaya, this is really bad," the bearded man gulped. He even stopped torturing the man. The mercenary was about to leave, but little Lolita, who was standing in front of him, grabbed him. After that, he heard a sweet-sounding voice. "Little Gigi, where are you going? We're not done acting in this scene. Get lost." The mercenary didn't think much of it and was about to toss her aside, but he realized the girl's hand was unmoving. You killed my bunny, so you shall use your life to repay me then." In the next second, there was a loud slam. Her petite figure actually performed a shoulder throw on that tall and muscular man, and he crashed to the ground harshly. Chapter 9:01 Swish, Swish, Swish. Following that, there were over 10 knives shooting towards him like torrential rain, piercing through his flesh and directly pinning him against the floor. Each flying blade was close to cutting his main arteries. "What do you think? Is this way of dying really cute, huh?" Little Lolita narrowed her eyes and looked at him condescendingly. The mercenary was stupefied and felt an agonizing pain on every inch of his body. His entire body was pinned to the floor as he wailed miserably. Blood gushed out from over 10 gashes on his body. The air was filled with the stench of blood. Upon seeing the bloody, tragic outcome of their partner, the other two mercenaries were dumbstruck. The fatty gulped. "Jiao Jiao, don't make such a big scene. The supper I painstakingly prepared for master hasn't been eaten yet." The old housekeeper looked at the floor that had the knives piercing it and furrowed his brows. "Didn't we agree not to damage the furniture?" "He spoiled my little bunny. It was given to me by master." Little Lolita stomped her feet with frustration. Who exactly sent these 3 people? Why did they push us into the fire pit like that?" The 5 of them crowded around the 3 badly bruised mercenaries like they were looking at animals. And the 3 mercenaries were like little chicks. They were trembling and were completely stunned. Where did these people come from? That man was in so much pain that his body was twitching, but since he was pinned to the floor, he didn't dare to move at all and could only moan nonstop. Presently, he finally remembered where he had seen these people before. "You guys are..." The terror in the mercenary's eyes intensified as he scanned these 5 people. They might seem like a messy group, like an old, weak and sickly group of servants, but thinking about it, everything actually all added up. "You guys are the people from Kirin Mercenary Army," the mercenary said with his last breath. The faces of the other 2 mercenaries changed abruptly. How could that be? Kirin Mercenary Army would never accept such a lowly mission of protecting a master. The bearded man crossed his arms. "Tisk, making a big fuss out of nothing. Who cares about the Kirin Mercenary Army? If they knew the organization we belong to now, that would scare them out of their wits." Master, how should we deal with these people? The fatty asked. How did they address this woman? Master. Mercenaries belonged to a mercenary army and only had a client and customer relationship with the bosses they were assigned to. They would never call their employer their master. This woman actually managed to subdue the top 5 experts from the Kirin mercenary army. How's this possible? The 3 mercenaries saw the fear in each other's eyes at the same time. Fire pit? How is this a fire pit? This is simply a living hell. Master, give them to Jiao Jiao, all right? Little Lolita spoke charmingly. Yi Wanwan glimpsed at the perfect plate of little crayfish in the fatty's hands. Not a single droplet of soup had spilled. She casually waved and said, "Go ahead." No. The 3 mercenaries were terror-stricken. It seemed like the long-haired man and bearded man were the most skilled in martial arts among the 5 of them. They always moved together. But in fact, the most terrifying one was that little girl, who didn't seem like she was lethal at all. If anybody landed in her hands, that would be worse than death. Furthermore, they had just infuriated her. We're just here for the money, we were hired by someone. We don't know anything. The employer's identity must be kept secret and you are all our seniors. You should know how it works too, we're not lying. Please spare us, senior. Spare us, senior. We have eyes but failed to recognize Mountain Tai. 1. After the 3 people were dragged away by little Lolita, the remaining few started to clean up the mess. Everything was as usual in the little house of Rose, like nothing had happened. Chapter 902. I'm useless. I messed up. What did you say? Upon hearing his confidant's report, Si Mingli snapped, Didn't you say nothing would go wrong? There are only 5 servants there and you sent 3 C-rank mercenaries over. How could you mess up? His confidant trembled as he spoke. There were only 5 servants in that little house indeed, but those 5 people were all experts, and they're probably mercenaries as well, with a higher rank than those 3 people. Useless thing. What were you doing before? You're only telling me now that those 5 people are mercenaries. Si Mingli was furious. His confidant actually didn't manage to find out such an important piece of information, and not only did he fail in completing this task, but he also alerted the enemy. If others found out about it, Si Mingli would be so embarrassed. Si Yiqian's face darkened. We were too careless this time. Seems like we can't underestimate the strength of those 5 mercenaries. With the number of people we can mobilize at the moment, I'm afraid we're no match for that woman. Si Mingli raged. Are we just going to let this go? Si Yiqian thought about it and said, Of course not. Since we already did it, how could we just give up halfway? Father, since we already shed all pretense of cordiality, there's nothing we need to worry about anymore. Why don't you get Mr. Eric to help? See if he can transfer some people over. I think Eric would be very willing to help. Si Mingli's eyes lit up. You're right. There's nothing to hide now. If Mr. Eric agrees, nothing would go wrong for sure. After all, with our current abilities, we can only hire C-rank mercenaries and under. Mercenaries who were above C-rank couldn't be hired with just money. They also had very stringent qualification checks on the employer. Darn woman, does she think this is all we got? She thought just a few mercenaries would be enough to protect her? She's simply looking at the sky from the bottom of the well. Victory Grand Hotel. Damn, my dog eyes. Nameless Nya looked at the little fellow in front of the mirror and was almost mesmerized by his appearance. He's simply too adorable. He had to admit that although this little ancestor of his had quite a devilish attitude, his beautiful and delicate little face were deceptive. He really wanted to reach out and rub that little face. Nameless Nya went quiet for a long time and meditated before he finally calmed himself down and wouldn't do anything to court his death. Little devil, uncle. Nameless Nya. What is it? Nameless Nya replied in an instant and even spoke in a much gentler tone without realizing it at all. This is truly a grievance of the appearance-obsessed party. Little devil, you may leave after you take me there. Nameless Nya didn't understand. Why? Little devil, With your IQ, if you say something wrong, it'll affect mommy's first impression of me. In other words, don't drag me down. Uncle Nye, who was criticized for dragging his nephew down. Adorable. Ass. I knew this nephew could never be so cute. Little Devil paused before he continued, Are you sure that the girl I saw in the video is my mother? That's right, that's right. That's her. What's the matter? Nameless Nye asked cautiously. Could it be that the Little Devil could tell, or maybe he wasn't satisfied and didn't like her? Little Devil replied indifferently, Nothing, let's go. Nameless Nye thought it might have been his imagination, but after hearing his confirmation, the Little Devil's little icy face seemed to have turned much gentler. Chapter 903, 903 Late at night, at a villa in the suburbs. Si Ming Li's face was extremely gloomy. He looked at Si Qian sitting next to him and said, Some mercenaries have accepted the mission already. Upon hearing that, Si Qian laughed. Father, you don't have to be so angry about the incident before, it was just an accident. H&E. Si Ming Li scoffed coldly, then turned to his confidant next to him and said, Check things carefully this time, all right? Don't make the same mistake like before. You didn't even know that that woman had mercenaries by her side. I checked very carefully. Beads of cold sweat formed on his confidant's forehead and he said carefully, The people under Yi Wanwan were brought back by her from overseas, but whether she hired them as security guards or for some other reason, we don't quite understand for now. Si Ming Li turned to Si Qian immediately and said, What do you think? Do those mercenaries have anything to do with in preparation? Kagwan, please wait a moment. After the updates, you need to refresh the page to get the latest updates. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.